welcome back to the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That is in. I am Shoob, and today we are here to do Week 13 picks. It is rivalry week. Let's go. The best week of the season in college football. We got a big slate of games to pick. I am very excited. A lot of conference championship races, a lot of college football playoff scenarios. A lot of those races, scenarios, everything is on the line this week. There's a lot of dominoes that can fall, and if they fall in certain ways, things can get very chaotic. And we talked a lot about it on our recap video. If you haven't watched that, the recap pod for our playoff scenarios, man, after going through that and all that and talking about all the craziness that can happen, it just makes me a little bit more antsy to do these picks because there is a lot of crazy potential that could happen. But anyways, Week 12 picks, looking at the board here, I'd say in terms of picking outright winners, another solid week for us. Gonzo 8-2, you went 7-3, I went 8-2 as well. But man, Zan, you just haven't had the knack for picking spreads. You went 6-4 against the number. Me and Gonzo went 5-5 respectively. I didn't even realize this, but Gonzo and I had the exact same picks, like 10 for 10, exact same outright winner and spread picks. So of course we had identical records. You went against us in a few of them, came out on top in terms of spreads, but not in terms of outright winners. So a little 1-for-1 punch there. But Gonzo, of course, is not here today, but he did send in his picks. And just by looking at his picks, I am going to differ from him this week. I can already tell you that just by looking at him, but we'll get to that. So you ready to go, man?
Let's get it.
All right. So we talked a lot about conference championship scenarios. One of them in the American, if you follow G5 football in the AAC, there is a logjam at the top right now. There are 3 teams that are sitting there at 7-0 undefeated in conference play, but only 2 of those 3 teams can make it to the title game. And 2 of those 3 teams happen to play each other in Week 13. That is UTSA, who goes on the road to face Tulane at Yulman Stadium. Tulane ranks 18 in the AP poll, and the Green Wave are a 3-point favorite. Now, the winner of this game is in the conference championship game. The loser is not officially eliminated, but very likely to be eliminated because we assume SMU, if they take care of business versus Navy, will get in. So in all likelihood, the winner of this game will face SMU in the AAC title game. So what do you got? The Green Wave are a 3-point favorite.
Well, this one's a coin flip, man. I'm going to go with the team. I'm going to go with the home team. Give me Tulane. Just because they're at home, that's the only reason. I think they're both very quality sides. I can see this going either way. I think they both have great coaching. I'm going to go with Michael Pratt and the Green Wave at home.
So this one is interesting because UTSA has been rolling as of late. Frank Harris, Cephas, their best wide receiver. Those guys, UTSA, I think they got off to a bad start in non-con play. They lost to Army. They had a really bad loss against them. And then, yeah, they've come into the American and really taken care of business. And then you have Tulane, who, we were high on towards the beginning of the season, and they've been playing well, but not necessarily superb football like we thought they should be. Pratt has been good, but not elite this year, I would say. But I'm looking at this game, and I agree with you, man. It's this time of year the odds makers really get sharpened. They really sharpen it up on the spreads. And I hate to do this to UTSA, but I got to go with you, man. I got to go with Tulane. I'm going to go with Tulane, and I'm going to take them to cover those 3 points. But I do think it's going to be a close game. My numbers actually say to take UTSA on the spread here, but I'm not gonna hedge inside a field goal. So even though we technically could do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is a 3-point game. I feel like that's what it'll be. And Gonzo agrees with us. He's going to take Tulane to win and cover that spread as well. So none of us have faith in the Roadrunners. Oh man, this is a tough pick, man.
It's a coin flip, man. But hey, go meet Meeps and roll Wave. Either way, great season.
2 good quarterbacks, Frank Harris versus Michael Pratt, definitely in this game. All right. Friday night game, by the way, too. And this one is a Friday night game as well. In fact, these first 3 games that are on the board here are all Friday games. So just be wary of that. The Civil War, number 15, Oregon State versus number 6, Oregon. The Beavers are coming off of a complete heartbreaking loss to Washington in the pouring rain and cold weather last week. And now they have been eliminated from Pac-12 championship contention. Can they rally the troops? Can they get off the mat to face off against their rival Oregon, who has absolutely been trouncing teams? Oregon needs to win this game, and they are in the Pac-12 championship game to face off against Washington in a rematch. And the Ducks are a 14.5-point favorite. What do you think happens here? Oregon State has had the Ducks number in recent years, so it makes this interesting.
Oregon State has had the Ducks number in recent years, but not at Autzen. Oregon State has not beaten Oregon at Autzen in a very long time. They have won 2 of the last 3, but all in Corvallis. So I told you a little bit off camera that I think Oregon is probably the best team. If I had to pick right now, I think Oregon's the best team in college football right now. And I'm going to stick to that. And they're at home. I'm going to say Oregon wins this game. And I think Oregon State's a very quality team, but I think Oregon just has too much firepower. I think they're too well-rounded, and that 14.5 is baiting you to take Oregon State. I'm going with Oregon on the spread also, and I know Oregon State's quality, but I think Oregon is just that good.
Well, Gonzo is going to take Oregon to win, so he's going to take the Ducks to win the Civil War, go to the Pac-12 championship game, but he's going to take the Beavers to cover those 14.5 points. So Gonzo is taking the bait, and I think I am going to take the bait as well, my friend. I am going to take Oregon State to cover, but I do not expect them to win this game. I think the spread is pretty accurate here, but I'm going to take the Beavers to cover, and that is just simply they played against them well in recent years. I think they're going to get off the mat. Jonathan Smith's a great coach. I think they will put up a good fight here. And plus, think about this from Oregon's perspective. I'm picking Oregon to win, by the way, if you couldn't tell. So Oregon to win, Beavers to cover. Oregon, if they get off to like a 2-touchdown lead or like a 10-point lead midway through the second half, and they're clearly like in control of the game, do you think they're going all out to smash Oregon State in the mouth and run it up? Or do you think they start setting their sights on Washington and just try to sit on the ball and milk it out?
Well, if they're only up by 14 points, they're going to keep smacking. That's not a comfortable lead against a quality team like Oregon State. If they get up by 35 or something, then yeah, they might unload the cannons a little bit, but they're not going to do it for just 2-3 scores.
All right. Hey, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I did see them do that to USC a couple weeks ago. They got off. They got
yeah,
up
but
like
that's when they had to play against Alex Grinch, man. Like, come on now.
Fair points. All right. Either way, Gonzo and I are in lockstep there. We're taking Oregon to win, Oregon State to cover. Zan is taking
the guy
Ducks.
Who's going to have different picks than Gonzo this week.
Hey, we're getting there. Nah, but I will say this: the one thing I'll be rooting for is the final Civil War for I don't know how long, which is extremely unfortunate. But give me the color rush unis. Give me
the highlighters.
Give me the color rush. Give me the highlighters. This is. Of all the rivalries in college football, man, Oregon versus Oregon State is the best combination of uniforms and color schemes.
I love, what was it? It was like a freaking mist bowl, but they were like all wearing highlighter uniforms.
So yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was just the battle of the highlighters in the mist. So even though it was so misty, you could still see everything perfect.
It was like watching two highlighters running around in fog. That's what it looked like.
That's funny.
That's what I want. That's what the Civil War is all about right there. Green and yellow versus orange and black. 2 of the best color schemes ever playing against each other, and 2 of the best mascots in the country. Beavers versus Ducks. I love the Civil War for mascots in the color scheme and uniforms. So give me those color rush unis. All right. On to the Big 12. Once again, another Friday night game. Texas Tech versus Texas. Now, this is a big one because if you're Texas, you simply win this game. You have punched your ticket to the Big 12 championship game. Even if you do lose this game, however, you still can get there in all likelihood. It's not official. But if you're Texas, obviously you have bigger and better things to play for in terms of getting to the college football playoff. Those hopes are still very much alive, especially if Texas goes on to win the Big 12. And they got the Red Raiders at home. So can they close off Big 12 conference play here in the regular season with a dub? They're a 13.5-point favorite. And if you're Texas Tech, who, by the way, Texas Tech, I know they got off to a bad start this year, but they've quietly been playing a little bit better recently. They're on a bit of a win streak. So does Texas Tech give Texas its final last punch before they move on to the SEC?
Texas Tech's going to give Texas a punch, but it's not going to be a knockout blow. Texas is going to win this game. Texas has too much on the line. Texas is tired of all the years of choking, and I think they're finally going to put it together and get to Arlington. But I think the Red Raiders have the commissioner in the seats. They know that Brett Yormark's going to be watching. They know that this game is going to get a lot of national attention, especially being on a Friday. Yeah, the Red Raiders are going to cover this 13.5-point spread, but Texas is going to come out with this game.
I like it. Gonzo is going to take Texas both ways here. So Gonzo is going to take Texas to win by 2 touchdowns. Well, I like your line of thinking more, Zan. I am going to take Texas to win this game. I'd be hard-pressed to find Texas Tech winning this game. I know Texas has been flirting with, potentially getting upset in the last few weeks, but I think it's just going to be kind of the same story. It's Texas is going to get out to a lead. They're going to just do barely enough to maintain it towards the end, but I think Texas Tech is going to give the Longhorns all they can handle, and I think Tech will cover the spread. I'm with you there. I think this one will be a 1-score game, actually. Like, I think this will be a game where Texas, ekes it out by 1 touchdown or 6 points or something like that. But I expect the Red Raiders to give them everything they can handle. This is the big one, the big game. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 3, Michigan. 2 11-0 teams going at it. The second year in a row that this is 2 11-0 teams going at it. And the winner of this game will, of course, play for the Big Ten championship. And I mean, let's be real here. The winner of this game will win the Big Ten championship. Sorry, Iowa.
The winner of this game is going to make the playoffs. This is a playoff game for all intents and purposes.
It really is. It literally, you win this game, you basically win the Big Ten championship and you're punch your ticket in the college football playoff. Maybe
win the 1 seed.
Maybe
probably the 1 seed.
Maybe, but it's a 2-for-1. Actually, no, it's a 3-for-1 special. You win this game. You beat your arch rival, you win the Big Ten, you go to the college football playoff. That's about as good as it gets. But as far as the spread, Michigan is at home. Of course, this one is in the Big House in Ann Arbor, and Michigan is a 4-point favorite. What do you got here?
It's hard to beat a team 3 years in a row. And I'll tell you this, I'm not as high in Michigan as everyone else is. I said it right there. They finally played it. I told you this off camera. They finally played an offense that even has somewhat of a pulse last week, and they almost lost to Maryland. The Big Ten, the schedule they have played up to this point has been laughable. They haven't been tested. I know that they've been dominant on defense, but really, who have they guarded on defense? Ohio State both ways.
Ohio State both ways? Oh, man. I mean, Ohio State's, listen, man, to play devil's advocate, Ohio State's been playing the same teams Michigan has.
Ohio State both ways.
Oh, man. Well, you know what Gonzo has here?
He's got Michigan.
He's got Ohio State both ways. He's got Ohio State winning this game. We have Zan and Gonzo picking the Buckeyes to upset Michigan in the Big House. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Well,
then again, Michigan might have their signs.
I don't know. Maybe Ohio State decided they didn't like. I don't know. You never know, man. You never know. These two teams go like crazy over each other. Like this is like
they
the type
hate
of
each
game.
Other.
Like Ohio State and Michigan each have analysts that are assigned at the beginning of the year. Their job is specifically to do whatever they can every single week to prep for Michigan or Ohio State. Like they prep for each other. Even when it's week 1 and that game is months away, they have an analyst in there studying what Ohio State's doing. And they have a Michigan or an Ohio State analyst studying what Michigan is doing. Like that's how crazy they go over each other.
It's going to be a battle.
It is. Well, I think Michigan is the better team. I'm going to pick Michigan to win. And so I will be the one Michigan man on this podcast that is picking the Wolverines over the Buckeyes. But I do
Oh,
not
don't
think.
be a coward.
Oh,
Don't be a
dude,
coward. Don't be a
I am going to
coward.
be a coward. It's a 4 point spread. I'm
Wow.
allowed to do this. It's 4 point spread. I'm allowed to do it, man. I think Ryan Day is not going to let Michigan pull his pants down 2 years in a row. He's not letting that happen. Jim Knowles is DC now. Listen, if Kyle McCord wasn't shaky and this Ohio State offense was a bit better, I might be taking Ohio State as well, but I don't trust McCord in that offense. I really don't. And I think that Michigan will be able to stop them. And on the other side of the ball, it'll be very interesting. Ohio State's defense is very, very good, but the Michigan's passing game with JJ McCarthy, it just I don't know if like they've shown enough to where
It's not very good. McCarthy is the best quarterback they've had in a long time, and that's not saying much.
they did struggle against Maryland. McCarthy did in the passing game. I mean, they didn't
Yeah.
really have to do much to beat Penn State. I don't know if Michigan needs to pass the ball to beat Ohio State. Like we don't know if they will be able to. We just don't
They have
know.
great running backs, great
Yeah,
offensive line. But yeah, I mean, if they get behind early, Ohio State has the advantage.
Ohio State's D line versus this Michigan running attack will be very, very fun matchup to watch.
It's going
But
to be a great game to watch.
I'll just say this, I am all on the under in this game. And when I have games where I think that both defenses are going to show out and the offenses are going to fail to put up points, I'm going to hedge spreads, man. Like this legitimately will probably be a field goal game. So I'm going to hedge the spread. I think Ohio State will cover. Michigan wins Ohio State +4. I think it'll be that type of game. Like I said, do you think Brian Day is going to let Michigan pull his pants down 3 years in a row? I don't think that's going to happen.
I
But I still
mean,
think Michigan will squeak it out.
last year, Michigan only did that because they got chunk plays. So otherwise, Ohio State was playing great defense on them. If they can avoid the chunk plays, I mean, Ohio State, I think they got it.
I agree, but try to tell Ohio State fans that they see that game as win or lose, and if you lose that game, you're on the hot seat. So yeah, it should be a great one, man. I'm expecting the under to hit, and I'm expecting this to be a one-score game. So I am hedging. Zan and Gonzo are taking the Buckeyes to go to the big house and win. I love it, man. You guys, I love it. All right. How about Kentucky versus Louisville? As Zan likes to call it, this is the snake oil showdown. Kentucky is unranked. Louisville is number 9 in the AP poll. Louisville is 10-1. They have had, listen, you want to talk about a team having its schedule roll out the red carpet for itself. That's what Louisville's schedule has done. They have had all the dominoes fall in their way on to this 10-1 record. And this is a non-conference game, of course. They don't have to beat Kentucky to go to the ACC championship game. They already got that wrapped up. They're playing FSU. So this game doesn't really matter for the ACC picture, but it matters because Louisville, if there is just like,
Chaos.
if Putin or Z drops a nuclear bomb on the United States, maybe Louisville can get into the college football playoff, maybe. But I think that's where this matters. So what do you see happening here? Louisville is at home and they're a 7-point favorite.
I said this preseason when we were doing win totals, Louisville is going to win this game, and I'm sticking to that. I'm sticking to my guns here. Louisville is going to win this game. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think Kentucky will play a good run, like a ground and pound brand of football with Ray Davis, and they're going to control possession. But I think Louisville is going to score points. But just because Kentucky is going to control the ground game like that, I think it's going to be a not necessarily lower scoring game, but I think it's going to be a closer game. So I will take Kentucky on the spread.
I can't believe Gonzo did this, but Gonzo's taking Kentucky to win this game outright. And I said earlier that I thought I was going to disagree with Gonzo here, but I'm taking the blue team to win this game. I think Louisville it fumbles the bag here and they get upset by Kentucky. And I am saying this because I think Kentucky is good enough to beat Louisville. Louisville, listen, man, if you're a Louisville fan, you probably hate us right now, but like, come on, you guys also lost to Pitt, who was like 3-8. So this team just has a knack for like randomly not showing up and flirting with disaster. Do you think they're going to show up here? I know it's a rivalry game. I know it's at
Big
home.
game, bra, man.
But big game Brom, do you think Brom is more focused on beating Florida State in the ACC championship game, or do you think he's more focused on beating Kentucky in what is
I
like a
think Braun knows
non-conference
he
game that
can't
doesn't
look
matter?
ahead to Florida State because
Ugh.
he look. I know they have I know the chance is small, but he wants to give himself every opportunity to have a chance at the college football playoff. I know it's
Hmm.
small, even if they win out, but there's no way he's going to be overlooking that. There's no way.
I get it. Listen, I get it, but let's be real here. Louisville, you think Louisville's gonna get in? I don't think
No, no,
so.
no. I said the chance is small. Yeah, it's like that meme. So you're saying there's a chance? You're
Yeah.
saying there's a chance?
I don't know. I feel like this is one of those like sneaky games that people overlook, and I think there's an upset here. I think Kentucky does it. I agree. I think the ground attack, all it takes is one turnover by Plummer and Louisville, and I think Kentucky can win this game. Yeah,
But same. I could say the same about Leary.
I agree, but I'm gonna take the blue team to win this game. I'm gonna take the blue snake oil over the red snake oil, along with Gonzo. But yeah, I mean, dude, if
Red
you're
versus blue
Louisville,
snake oil.
come on, man. If you're a Louisville fan, are you would you rather win the ACC or would you rather beat Kentucky but lose to FSU?
I
I
guess we'll
think
find out.
I think I'd be more if I was that coaching staff. I might be a little bit more concerned about beating Florida State. We'll see. All right, the Iron Bowl, Alabama versus Auburn. Auburn coming off of a loss to New Mexico State. And not just a loss, like New Mexico State thoroughly like beat them, like in terms of doubled their total yardage and beat them by 3 touchdowns. That's what New Mexico State did. And we said on our podcast, Auburn just completely just decided to not show up and just prep for Bama all week and just lose to New Mexico State. And that's what they did. Well, guess what? Now they're playing Bama. They spent 2 weeks prepping for him. So what do you think is going to happen? Auburn is at home, of course. It's in Jordan Hare, and Bama is a 14.5 point favorite.
Auburn's at home. They completely sold against New Mexico State last week. I am convinced they completely sold to spend 2 weeks on getting ready for Bama. They said, look, we can't win the SEC. We're not going to a good bowl game. This is our Super Bowl, man. We can't do anything but beat Alabama. The only thing that we can take from this year is beat Alabama and ruin their season. This is our Super Bowl. Alabama's still going to win, but Auburn's going to cover that 14.5 point spread. Give me that.
I am inclined to agree with you, man. I'm going to take Alabama to win. Like, listen, I thought at the beginning of the year this Auburn team might be good enough to beat Alabama. In fact, I was pretty confident that Auburn could clip Alabama going into this year. The fact of the matter is this Auburn team definitely was not as good as I would have thought. It's underwhelmed. And then Alabama has been better than we thought. They really have. And they played better as the season goes on. That being said, even though I think the Tide will win this game, I think it's going to be close. And there's just no way in hell I am going to fade Auburn in the Iron Bowl at Jordan Hare. There's just no way. There's just no way. I'm taking Auburn to cover this spread. 14.5, man, it does seem too good to be true, which makes me a little concerned. But yeah, I might throw some personal money on this. Like Auburn is going to cover that spread. I'm very confident about that. Gonzo, however, is not. He is actually going to take Bama to win and cover, which coming from him, I'm actually kind of surprised. He's taking Bama to lay those 14.5 points. Interesting. Would not have expected that from Gonzo. All right. The Sunshine Showdown. Florida State is an 11.5 point favorite going into the swamp to face the Florida Gators. Now, this game, of course, has been flipped on its head because of last week. Of course, Jordan Travis, Florida State will be without him and will be without him for the rest of the year. Just a devastating injury. Man, hearts go out to Jordan Travis. It just really sucks. But Tate Rodemaker is the backup quarterback. And Tate Rodemaker, he's had a lot of playing experience. He's been around the block, and he is the heir apparent of Jordan Travis. So it's not like a new guy that hasn't played before. It's still a backup QB. And then you have Florida, who also lost Graham Mertz last week against Missouri. Graham Mertz has a collarbone injury. So it's going to be the battle of backups here in the Sunshine Showdown. So what do you got here?
Florida's going to keep it close, but Florida State's going to win. Just the better team, man. Just the better team. Florida has a lot to play for here. Look, they're playing for bowl eligibility. They're playing to ruin Florida State season, an in-state rival, and to steal recruits from them. I mean, this is kind of a big thing right here. It's a whole battle right now between these two. But I think ultimately Florida State will prevail here, but Florida is going to keep it close. Florida will cover the spread. It's going to be a hard-fought game.
Gonzo is taking Florida State to win, and like you, he's going to take Florida to cover. Well, even though the Gators will not have Graham Mertz, I thought Max Brown, the backup for Florida, played really well against Missouri in a small sample size. They moved the ball very well against Missouri. And if I get any inkling of that team that played the second half against Missouri, against Florida State, without Jordan Travis, I feel pretty good about my Gators' chances to win this game. I legitimately do. In fact, good enough to where I'm going to go homer mode here, and I'm picking the upset. I think Florida's going to win this game. And I'm not just saying that.
I could see it.
I legitimately, objectively think Florida has a very good shot to win this game. And I'm little 50-50 on it. So
I could see it.
I'm picking Florida.
Florida State is much different without Jordan Travis.
Yes. And Rodemaker, to be fair, Rodemaker has been fairly competent when he's come in backup situations over his career. So this isn't like a situation where if you're Florida State, you have like no confidence in him. I think you actually probably have decent confidence in him. But if I'm Florida, I also have confidence in what I saw from Max Brown last week. So I don't know, man. Florida, we played so well against Missouri last week. If that team puts up the same performance against Florida State, I legitimately think we can win. And that is objective me saying that. I think at the very least,
I think it's possible too.
Remember last year in Tallahassee, Florida, I mean, we kept it to a 1-score game when I did not think that was even going to be remotely possible last year. So it's a rivalry game, man. I think we're going to see some fireworks, and I'm picking the Gators to ruin the Noles season.
Hey, I know the committee wants the Gators to ruin the Noles season, so they don't have to make a tough decision later.
That is very true. The Palmetto Showdown, Clemson versus South Carolina. Clemson is a 7-point favorite. South Carolina actually beat Kentucky last week. A little bit of a surprising win for them. Good win for the Gamecocks. And if they beat Clemson, they will still go bowling. South Carolina has a chance to be bowl eligible if they can beat Clemson. So what do you got here? Clemson is a 7-point favorite.
This is tough, man, because, I mean, South Carolina shellacked them last year, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And they're at home this year, and Clemson's playing a little bit better right now, but I just truly don't have a good feel for this game, if I'm being completely honest with you. Clemson being a 7-point favorite in South Carolina is telling because it tells you on a neutral field what Clemson be favored by 10 or 11 points. I got to go with Clemson to win, man. I got to go with Clemson to win. But I think South Carolina is going to fight very hard to get bowl eligible. They're at home. The fans want to see it happen. It's Spencer Rattler's last game. He's going to try to make some money. And I say it's his last game because they're going to lose and they won't be going bowling. So I'm going to go with the South Carolina cover to throw some respect. They're going to put up a fight, but Clemson's going to win this game.
Gonzo is going to take Clemson both ways. He's going to have them winning, and then he's going to lay the 7 points with Clemson on the road. I'm going to agree with you here. I think Clemson will win. I think they will avenge their loss last year. They are clearly the better team, but it's rivalry week, man. And you can see the common thread here with my picks is I'm taking almost all the underdogs to cover their spreads this week. In fact, I think I have picked every single underdog to cover except for UTSA. So with that being said, I'm going to take South Carolina cover. I have this game as Clemson winning by like 4 or 5 points. So I'm going to say South Carolina covers. I think Rattler in the gang will put up a good fight. I think they will, though. Clemson's D line against that South Carolina O line is just such a mismatch. So, but you know what, man, like they'll figure out a way. It's a rivalry game. Like they'll figure out a way to scheme around that, I'm sure. All right. North Carolina versus NC State. UNC coming off of a loss to Clemson, and then you have NC State, who has been rolling, man. NC State, very quietly, is now 8-3. You want to talk about backdooring teams playing really well towards the end of the season, kind of under the radar? That's been NC State this year. They have very quietly been playing very good football as of late, and they got UNC at home to end the year in Raleigh. UNC is a 2.5-point favorite. However, this one's interesting, man.
Honestly, I don't think NC State's that great this year. I think the ACC is just kind of average, but credit to NC State. They've been better than I expected them to be, and I can admit that because I was all over their under when you guys were on the over.
No, I was also with you on the under.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, but they definitely exceeded my expectations, and I still don't think they're that great. But the thing is, I don't think UNC is that great either. And I'm thinking Drake May has already got his eyes set on, maybe I don't think he'll actually opt out of the bowl because he's a Tar Heel through and through. But I think he's already looking at the NFL, man. So we'll see. I think NC State's going to win this game. It's at home. It's a rivalry. NC State, like you said, has been reeling. Their defense is impressive. That's the strength of this team. And ultimately, North Carolina's weakness is the defense. So if you're actually getting stops against Drake May and you're putting up points on North Carolina, it's going to be hard for North Carolina to come back on you or match you. I like North Carolina State to win this game. And by the rules of what we're doing here, that would also mean they cover because they're the underdog.
Gonzo's going to disagree. He's going with UNC to win and cover. So he's got the Tar Heels. I'm going to pick the Wolfpack. Give me the Wolfpack. I'm going to trust the defense. These two teams are basically opposites of one another. You got good defense and bad offense versus good offense and bad defense. And the way that NC State has been playing, I completely agree with you, man. They're at home. I just think this is a classic rivalry week Raleigh special. Like NC State playing at home in front of their crowd. Chance to finish the year 9-3 in a season where expectations, like this is kind of like a rebuilding year for NC State. I mean, that's a good program, bro. Like they are, like we said earlier, they're kind of Oklahoma State light with the way that they operate and their on the field success. Very impressive. And I think they're gonna win. I think they will. And yeah, it could very well be Drake May's last game in a college uniform. But we'll see if he opts out or not. But I don't know. It could be his last game. So just tune in for that if you want to see Drake May for the last time, potentially in a Tar Heel uniform. But give me Dave Doran and the Pack. All right. How about we end the day with a little bit of Farmageddon? Iowa State versus Kansas State. Now, I saw on Twitter, both fan bases are actually very upset that the Big 12 is not protecting this rivalry starting next year. Do you see that? Like the Big 12 has its annual rivalries, and they're only protecting like 4 of them. They're only protecting the Sunflower Showdown, I think TCU, Baylor, right? And then like Utah, BYU, and then Arizona State. That's it.
They should have protected this one. They should have protected Farmageddon.
Both fan bases are very upset that they're not protecting Farmageddon. So it's not going to be an every year thing anymore, which is a little unfortunate. But
who knows? I think if there's enough, strife about it, they might start protecting it in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, it is still played this year, so we get to see it at least for 2023. And Iowa State's on the road. It is in Manhattan. Kansas State is an 11.5-point favorite. K-State really squeaked one out. Maybe a little fortunate to beat Kansas last week. And then you have Iowa State. Kind of had a little bit of their Super Bowl against Texas, but came up short. So both of these teams definitely did not put up ideal performances in their respective games last week. So who bounces back here and gets the dub?
Both these teams have something to play for. I mean, they both have an outside chance of still making the Big 12 championship with a win. Loser is 100% eliminated. I mean, both of these teams will need some help to get there, but there is still an outside chance. Kansas State's at home. I like the matchup in favor of Kansas State. I think they're a better team, but I think it's actually going to be a pretty low-scoring game. Iowa State, Kansas State, both solid defenses. Iowa State actually a little bit better on offense than we think. Rocco Becht has played better than I thought he would this season. I think it's going to be a close game. Iowa State isn't going to go get blown out in this game. So Kansas State to win, Iowa State to cover. It's Farmageddon, baby.
Farmageddon. Gonzo is going to go with Kansas State to win and Kansas State to cover. So he's also taking the favorite here, or he's going against you. He's taking the favorite. I'm a little surprised. I know Gonzo isn't online today, but he did pick Ohio State as an underdog to win. He did pick Kentucky as a touchdown dog to win, but I'm surprised Gonzo's laying the points here with some of these favorites. Well, am I going to continue my theme here of picking the underdog to cover spreads this week? Well, this is going to be one of my two exceptions. I'm going to take Kansas State to win, and I am going to take Kansas State to cover. And this one is not a confident play at all. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Iowa State covers. My numbers say Kansas State by 13. So just like barely a cover here. I mean, I don't have much confidence in this one at all, but I'm going to take Kansas State there on the spread, but we'll see. But of course, Kansas State to win. I think they are the better team. I think they will win. I honestly think Kansas State will win this game. I'd be surprised if they drop this one, but wouldn't be surprised if Iowa State puts up a good fight. I'll put it that way. All right. Well, that's our rivalry week slate. Couldn't pick all these games. Honestly, I would want to pick a lot of these games. They're even the ones that aren't really high stakes rivalries. They're always just fun to pick because you know both teams are going to play well. Usually this is the week where the underdogs show out. So you love to see it. It's the best week in the sport. It's what college football is all about. It's rivalries, man. It's the best part about college football. And I'm ready to consume it. I'm sure you are. So for Gonzo, who is not here this week, this is the Saturday Scholars, Zan and Shoob, signing out. See y'all later. Enjoy your college football Friday, Saturday, and your Thanksgiving Thursday. Have a good one. Enjoy the day with your families. See y'all later.